It's 2025 and somehow this budget red dot from the Obama years is still relevant. Either it's underrated or I just have commitment issues. So this is a Primary Arms MD-RBGII, a red dot that's been quietly hanging around the optics world like a guy who peaked in high school but somehow still gets invited to the party. I've got 500 rounds through mine and I paid roughly 49 bucks on sale because I'm a man of culture who refuses to pay full retail when Holosun exists. So here's what I found, both the good, the bad, and it's okay. First off, the glass clarity is honestly solid. Very minimal blue tint, nothing weird, nothing milky. It's not ACOG clear, but it also doesn't look like you're viewing the world through a gas station aquarium. One minor thing I noticed when I parked this next to a Holosun 403R, you can actually see the emitter inside the tube on the MD-RBGII. I didn't notice this at all while I was shooting because like a normal human, I was focused on the target. But if you're someone who sits in your room staring through optics like you're inspecting horoscopes, you'll definitely see it. It's not a deal breaker, at least for me, but it's another reminder this dot was engineered for function, not optical elegance. The 2 MOA dot's fine. It's crisp enough for government work, but not as tight as something like the discontinued Holosun 403R, which, shocker, costs more. You're not winning any precision shooting matches with this, but you also won't be rage quitting your zeroing session either. The rotary dial started off tighter than a new jar of pickles, like two hands used to pray tight. But after 4 full rotations, it loosened up dramatically. Now it turns smooth and easy, maybe a little bit too easy for my liking. No idea if that's intentional wear-in or if the factory just preluded it was wishful thinking, but it works now, so I don't know, progress. Also, there's no shake awake, no auto shut off, no brightness memory. This is a turn it on, deal with it optic. It's kind of charming, really. Alright, the turrets. So they're capped, but so tall it looks like somebody screwed up the CAD file and no one's really said anything. Imagine stacking 2 chapstick tubes on top of your optic and just kind of calling it elevation. That said, they're tactile and reliable, but the 108 click per adjustment is not industry standard and definitely not ideal for precision. You can fine tune your zero, kind of, just not very finely. But if you're the kind of person who zeroes once and never touches it again, you probably won't care. Material-wise, the housing is made out of, quote, aluminum. That's it. No 6061, no 7075, no aircraft-grade marketing fluff, just plain aluminum. Which is kind of like buying a mattress made of foam. Despite that, it's held up fine, no flickering dot, no POI shift, no weird phantom failures. It's been boringly normal, which is kind of this optic's entire personality, really. So I mounted mine on the Primary Arms 2.26 mount, and here's a rare compliment. It actually sits at the correct height. This one matches roughly the T2, T1 heights almost exactly. So that means if you're experimenting with optic heights, especially the 2.26 setups, you can do it without pulling your good dot off a rifle that's already zeroed. Big plus for lazy tinkerers like me. So here's where I think this dot makes sense. You can catch it on sale for 49 bucks, bundle it with a discontinued mount, and suddenly you've got a red dot set up for under 100 bucks. It's kind of wild. So why would I pay the full $89 MSRP? I wouldn't. At that point, you're just brushing shoulders with budget Holosuns, and this doesn't even compete on features. But at 49 bucks, this is a steal for people who want to try red dots after living the LPVO lifestyle. Maybe you want a backup optic that you just don't have to babysit. And really anyone that wants to experiment with different optic heights without pulling their primary off of their primary setup. I want to be clear, like, this is not a duty optic. It's definitely not for serious use builds, but it's a great placeholder or backup, especially when you're trying to figure out if some of the taller mounts like 193 or 2.26 actually make you faster or just feel taller. So let's talk battery life, because this is where the budget fantasy really ends. Primary Arms lists this as having 500 to 1,000 hours of runtime, which sounds decent until you realize the top brightness setting is dimmer than Holosun's 403R's at about 80%, and the 403R's max is already a step below the Aimpoint's fireball mode. And that's across T1s, T2s, Comp M5s, Comp M4s, and so on. So yeah, 1,000 hours if you're shooting in a closet. Realistically, if you crank it up to be actually daylight visible, you're going to burn through that battery a lot quicker. Out of 12 settings, I ran mine on setting 11 almost always, and that was in some rough shade on a decently sunny day. In other words, bring spare batteries, or just carry a Sharpie to draw the dot on when it dies mid-range day. Oddly enough, my biggest complaint about this optic is not the Snoop Dogg high adjustment turrets or the minuscule battery life, but rather the textured knurling that is machined into the rotary knob, which doubles as a battery compartment. Even though it's O-ring sealed and I didn't really notice any loosening, at least in my testing during multiple adjustments with gloved hands, there is the potential to inadvertently loosen the battery cover over time. However, this is one detail that Holosun did get right on their 403R with their rotary knob. Notice the knurling on the adjustment knob on this example, but the battery cover is both smooth and recessed. So this may seem like a minor detail, but when you factor in the amount of times you'll be rotating the brightness, likely from the off position to max or near max just due to the lack of brightness on this optic, I can definitely see where this becomes an eventual Achilles heel, especially when shooting in any environment other than sunny and 70 degrees. So if you've run one of these, let me know, especially if your rotary dial went from tank stiff to almost fidget spinner like mine did. Or if you actually managed to break one of these, because I generally want to know what kind of trauma it took. Drop a comment, hit like if this saved you $40 in regret, and subscribe for more red dot reviews that no one asked for, but you watched anyway. See if I can get back up.